We Make Movies Film Geeks podcast, episode number 108. Welcome to the We Make Movies podcast, making the world a better place, one film at a time. And now, here are your hosts, three aspiring sellouts, Chad, Michelle, and Garrett. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the We Make Movies Film Geeks podcast. The podcast is all about how to get your movie made, how to get it seen by other people, and how to get it awesome. I'm your host, Garrett Robinson. With me, as always, faithful co-host, Chad Kukihiko. Chad, how are we doing this fine Sunday afternoon?
I'm well. Do I look tan? Do I look darker?
You look tan. You do look tan.
Good. I was in Hawaii for a couple of weeks. We didn't like sunbathe as much as we have in the past, I should say. But yeah, I think I'm a little darker. A little bit.
Excellent. I've got actually like a wicked tan line going on right over here.
Little farmer's tan.
Yeah, I've been walking every single day, and it just over a long period of time, because I do not tan easily, but over a very, very long period of time, because I'm a very pale, pasty motherfucker, I finally got a really wicked tan line. So now when I walk, when I go out in the canyon and I'm like out isolated and nobody can see me, now I'm taking my shirt off and trying to reduce the tan line over the upper body. So anybody who's got a weird, super pasty white guy fetish, Tahunga Canyon every day, first thing in the morning.
How's the not smoking going, by the way?
That's totally fine. That's like not even a thing in my world anymore.
Good for you, man. That is fantastic. That's really fantastic. Good. Yeah. Seriously.
Megan is still having a little bit of an issue with it, but it's fading over time, and she smoked a lot longer than I did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's going good. And in other news, this is my first broadcast from a brand new computer, and the story of that is hilarious. So I will tell it very briefly. I had my iMac. I had an iMac, still do, but I had an iMac, 27-inch iMac that I've had for like 2.5 years, and it died one day. I couldn't get it to boot up. Everything was running super slow. Snap. Yeah, so I tried to do a reinstall of the OS. So I backed up the hard drive, I wiped the hard drive, and I tried to reinstall the OS, and it kept bugging on the reinstall. Called Apple support. They couldn't fix it. They said, take it into a Genius Bar. Took it into a Genius Bar. She tried to start it up. She was like, no, the hard drive's completely dead. We need to replace it. Going to be a couple $100. I was like, okay. I mean, 2.5 years, I've used it to write all of my books and make movies. It's like I've gotten a lot out of my investment, and $200 for a new hard drive, I'm going to get a lot more out of it. So I get a call from the Genius Bar a couple of days later, and the guy says, hilariously, he says, we have good news and we have bad news. I'm like, okay, all right. Because I'm thinking bad news is we need to fix more than just your hard drive, and it's going to cost more money. Mm-hmm. But the good news is you'll have a working computer, and like maybe we can put an SSD hard drive into it or something like that. Mm-hmm. No, so the bad news was they were working on my computer in the back of the store, and then they dropped it, and the screen shattered.
Snap.
And they couldn't fix it. And so the good news is I get a brand new computer, and I'm like, okay, you need to
for $200?
No, for nothing.
What?
For free.
Holy shit, that's amazing.
I know. So I'm like, dude, that was not actually bad news.
There was like no bad news there.
There was no bad news. It was all good news.
That's amazing.
So but thank you. I'm not trying to sound ungrateful. Oh my God, this is amazing. So that's why I have a brand new computer.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
I know.
What are the odds that I could bring mine in and just be like, hey, and then they'll smash it and give me a new computer? That's
probably not very good. I saw the same girl who had helped me at the Genius Bar when I went in to pick up my brand new computer, and I was walking out carrying an iMac case, and she was like, did they get it fixed for you? I said, no, actually. And I told her what happened, and she was like, oh, well, I had nothing to do with that, but congratulations. And I was like, sure, you had nothing to do with that. I got you. Yeah, I got it. She was like, no, I would totally get fired if I did that. So yeah. Anyway, let's start the show. Why don't you start us off?
We've been gone for a bit. You guys didn't do a show last week while I was in Hawaii. No. I'm curious about that. There was a lot of emotion behind that. No, so it's very. Anyway, I'm gonna continue. While I was gone,
we didn't do it.
No. Batman v Superman. While I was gone, it broke another record. Yay. But it's not a good record. Forbes magazine reported, in fact, that during its first full week of out, Batman v Superman dropped 81%, which makes it the biggest Friday to Friday drop off ever for a superhero movie. Then, after the second weekend was complete, the drop off compared to the first weekend was 68%. There was no particular mention in this article about whether or not that was also a record breaker, but now that even more weekends have gone by, it's become fairly clear that the film won't even reach the 1 billion mark in the box office for a film that started.
Oh, it makes me so sad.
At nearly half a million on its first weekend. That is huge, as in a huge disappointment. In fact, though it appears that the film will reach 800 million by the end of this weekend, the numbers.com predicts it will never reach 900 million total, which is very bad news for the DC extended universe. That little chuckle, by the way, is schadenfreude. Considering the fact that Batman v Superman was in fourth place this weekend with just over $9 million. Now, it's a fourth weekend out, 440 million on its first weekend, and it is on the fourth weekend just over 9 million, losing, by the way, to Jungle Book at 103 million, which I will talk about a little later. The latest Barbershop sequel, which made just over 20 million, and The Boss at $10 million. I'm betting the numbers.com's prediction is very likely to come true. What this means,
the new Star Wars is probably making more in dollar theaters than Batman v Superman is right now.
Actually, it was fourth place. So and it was fourth place, and there are films on there that have been out for a really long time that are still pulling in some money at the box office. But yeah, I mean, fourth place at 9 million is not bad, but it's gonna tank. I mean, first weekend out, by the way, Criminal couldn't break 9 million. Criminal is not doing well, by the way. It's doing very, very poorly. Anyway, the last bit on what I was going to say about Batman v Superman is that what this means for the other films in the series is really anybody's guess, but it cannot be good.
I have theories, and that's what my segment is actually about.
Perfect.
Yeah, so in the extended DC universe, in general, so there's a lot of buzz in the geek circles, which is kind of where I spend my time. I listen to a lot of podcasts on this. I watch a lot of YouTube channels on this and everything like that. And everybody is talking about Batman v Superman and hasn't really stopped talking about it since it came out. And how is this movie going to affect the rest of the DC cinematic universe? And pretty much everybody thinks it's going to affect it in very negative ways. Yeah. Now, have you seen it yet, Chad?
No, I don't plan on seeing it until I don't really plan on seeing it. I will.
I want to spoil it. Is that okay with you?
No, it's already been completely spoiled for me. I pay attention to a lot of similar podcasts. I know but for the listeners.
Yeah, for the listeners, spoiler, maybe tune out for a couple of minutes or whatever. So Batman just straight up murders people in this film. Like, he just kills them. He just straight up kills people and random henchmen dudes. He doesn't know who they are. He doesn't know what they did before he met them. And maybe they got families back at home and their kids have cancer. And the only way that they can pay for the treatment is by pulling off heists and doing like bank robberies and stuff. So if he's just willing to straight up murder those dudes, how are you going to have him appear in the Suicide Squad movie, which he does appear in, by the way, and he doesn't just straight up murder the Joker? That doesn't make any kind of sense.
Wait, did you say you said Superman?
No, Batman.
Oh,
Batman.
Okay. I thought you said Superman. Maybe I heard you wrong.
Superman also straight up murders people in this film. And Zack Snyder's like, well, I mean, maybe. He chucks a dude through a 3-foot thick concrete wall. A non-powered dude, random terrorist out in the desert. He puts him through a concrete wall. Motherfucker is dead.
Man.
And somebody else was talking about, so apparently Jimmy Olsen dies in this movie. Just dies. He's there. He's credited in the credit. People saw the movie and they saw a guy and they were like, oh, that must be Jimmy Olsen. Then he gets shot in the head and they're like, oh, that can't be Jimmy Olsen because they're going to want to have Jimmy Olsen. Then they get to the credits and that was Jimmy Olsen. And they're like, well, what the fuck?
What are you doing, DC? What?
It doesn't make any. It doesn't make any. It doesn't make any sense. Like, how is Batman just not kill people after this?
They don't care about
at all.
They don't care at all.
No, and Superman. So again, huge spoilers. If you didn't care about that, you're gonna care about this. At the end of the movie, Superman dies. Okay, so what's the next Superman movie going to look like?
I heard at the end that he's probably not dead.
Well, I mean, of course he's not dead. Like, he's gonna come back. He's Superman. Like, you don't. But that's the thing. So what's the next Superman movie look like? Do we have an entire Superman film where other people are working to resurrect him, and that's the plot of the movie? Or does he come back in the first 5 minutes of the next Superman film so that the death was no big deal in the first place? Or is he going to be resurrected in somebody else's movie? Is he going to be resurrected in one of the Affleck directed Batman movies? None of these seem like good ideas. Fucking DC had one job, and not only did they screw the pooch, but they screwed all of the future pooches. This is the whole thing where it's like, I'm going to fuck you so hard, your children are going to feel it for 7 generations. 7 generations of pooches are screwed. That's my time. I yield my time.
Oh my God. I don't even want to go on to the next subject. I think that this just, I mean,
I think we should just bitch about Batman v Superman.
I feel like we need at least a moment of silence. You know what I mean? I think something wonderful has died.
Many people, after I finish speaking, request just a moment of silence just to recover.
It's so sad. It's so sad. You know what I mean?
Know. I don't know what to say. Like, as a geek in general, you know what? I do want to see the Suicide Squad, because I feel like the Suicide Squad, just based on the trailers, which again, I'm sure they're going to release more trailers that's going to ruin basically the entire fucking movie. But I still feel like that movie is going to be more like it's going to fit into a DC cinematic universe that should exist, but never will, right? Like, that seems like the type of thing that DC should be doing, and it's going to be inconsistent with everything else that DC is actually doing.
But the DC world is clearly a chaotic mess. You know what I mean? There is no Feige. There is no, I don't even remember the name of the guy who was kind of going, the old school dude who was kind of not super. That's, by the way, my little dog in the background, if you were watching.
That, by the way, is my shitty ass chair croaking and groaning in the background. I don't
hear it. I don't hear it.
I don't hear your dog.
No, I said see. You can see him.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah. Anyway, that's fine. The people who are listening can't see it, so that's fine. Anyway,
great radio.
Anyway, I don't know. I'm they don't have a Kevin Feige. They don't have the guy who runs the TV world. And people, I know that there have been some people like the guy who's supposed to direct, whose name is escaping me at the moment, the guy who's supposed to direct Batman and left, the awesome guy from, oh goodness, zombies and stuff. Come on, help me out here. The guy's name, Edwin something. All right. For Christ's sake, he did anyway, that guy, he
Shaun
left.
of the Dead.
Not Dawn of the Dead. That's Zach's. That's
Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun of the Dead. Shaun of the Dead. Yes, absolutely. That's the one. Anyway,
Edward, whatever.
Edwin, I think, or something. Anyway, he left apparently because they were, they tried to want to stick to the story a little bit.
Edgar Wright.
Edgar Wright. That's the one. Anyway. But that's what it's important that you do to some degree. You have to. And that's why people like Feige and like this other guy who runs the TV world now that Feige left it. Those guys are important. And as much as it's a bummer that Edgar Wright left, they clearly left enough of what he put into it, because it was a really, really, really funny movie. And it wasn't perfect.
I like it's that conflicting thing where I would like to see an Edgar Wright Ant-Man, but at the same time, it wouldn't fit with everything else that's going on.
Right. Right. And that's important. You have to, because and this is the thing that I think people don't realize necessarily. And I've talked about this in the past, but it bears repeating because I really think it's true. We are in sort of an age of sort of TV renaissance. And what makes TV, arguably in some people's minds better than film is that you can tell a much, much, much longer story. Like Happy Valley. Oh my God. You got to see, if you've not seen Happy Valley on Netflix, you've got to watch. It's only a 6-episode show. So good.
I've not seen it. I'll watch it.
You could not tell that show in a movie. It's too long. And it doesn't, so it's in many ways, it's obviously the one thing that film has that TV will never have is the spectacle. You're never really going to be able to get that. I mean, you can reach some sort of facsimile. I felt like when I first saw the new Battlestar Galactica, I was amazed at how much spectacle they were able to squeeze onto this tiny little screen. But by and large, it just will never compete with film. So you don't bother. What you do instead is you tell a much longer story. And that is what Marvel Universe is doing really well. They're telling these much larger sort of patchwork stories instead of worrying so much, you know what I mean, about, and that even though each individual film may never sort of compete with like the Batman, the Nolan Brothers Batman movies as individual films, I think that the Nolan Brothers Batman films are the best. They're better than anything that the Marvel universe has put out. But
that's such a smart thing. I feel like more creators in more different genres and types of media should be experimenting with story universes that do that sort of thing.
If you might want to explain this for the people who are not watching this.
Oh yeah, no, this is great radio. This is great radio. I was just holding up my books. I was just holding up my fantasy books. And I played The Alchemist's Touch. If you want to see what a fantasy author would do if he was trying to do the Avengers. There you go.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my point is I think that I do think that the greater, the way that it's all kind of fitting together as a sort of a quilt is amazing. And I love it. I really do enjoy it. And I think that that's part of what people are enjoying is they've never seen this before. You know what I mean? It's a larger thing that kind of spreads in a way that is imperfect, but it builds to the richness of every other item in the thing. And when you're killing off these individual, this is the thing about the DC extended universe, is they have all these multiple characters in multiple, and they have like, so how many Batmans do we have now? You know what I mean? How many Batmans how many different?
Well, that's going to be interesting to see going forward when like Robert Downey Jr. isn't Iron Man anymore. Now he said he wants to do that until he's
doing this
dead.
Now. They're doing it right now with Flash. And you know what I mean? And the Jimmy Olsens and the blah, blah, you know what I mean? Like, he's in Supergirl, different, you know what I'm saying? It's so weird. Was Jimmy Olsen, by the way, in Batman v Superman, was he a white Jimmy Olsen or was he a black Jimmy Olsen like he is in Batgirl?
I don't know, actually. There's a Jimmy Olsen in Supergirl? I did not know that.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like a tall black dude. And he's, anyway, it's really...
Boy, if he's black in Batman v Superman, that's problematic on a whole nother level. No, he was a white guy.
See, what are they, I just don't understand what they're doing. Like, just, I mean... Samuel L. Jackson is Nick Fury. Ever since Samuel L. Jackson has been Nick Fury, Samuel L. Jackson has been Nick Fury. Yeah. It's never been somebody else. And yes, I know in the comic books it was a white dude, but now Samuel L. Jackson.
Actually, they took that from the Marvel Ultimate Universe, which is just their like other retelling universe where he is basically Samuel L. Jackson, in that comic book series. And I think that I'm
fairly certain they're making the changes. I'm fairly certain they're making all those changes in the comic books moving forward.
Those comic books took place before the Marvel Cinematic Universe happened, but I think it was like 2.5 years before. So I think that they were like, we're going to be doing a thing. And what if we do this thing?
Yes. Yeah, I bet.
We should move on because we have big main topics.
Okay, yeah. Oh, forgot. Yes. Anyway, Disney's remake of the Jungle Book is apparently kicking some serious ass. First weekend out, and it trounced every other film. As I mentioned before, it made $103 million, and as I mentioned before, the second grossing film came in at just over $20 million. So that's Oh, and by the way, it's also a critical success. It's got 95% with the critics on Rotten Tomatoes and 92% from the audience. I haven't seen it myself, but friends of mine who have are actually kind of freaking out right now on Facebook about how much they liked it. So I obviously have to see it myself, and I'm looking forward to that. Jon Favreau was definitely an interesting choice as director for this, but he obviously did a great job. So kudos, Favreau. I can't wait to see what everybody is going so nuts over. Did you see it? Am I missing you? Oh, he stepped away. Okay. I'm not sure. Didn't see that I was talking to you while I was looking at my spreadsheet, so didn't know you'd stepped away. Sorry about that. Have you seen Jungle Book?
I have not. I have heard nothing but the same amazing things that you have about it. And in fact, I don't know if you mentioned my comment that I made on your segment, but
no, I'm not. I did not. Yeah, go ahead.
Just as an exclamation point, I have seen multiple reviewers on Twitter and YouTube and elsewhere who are saying that Warner Brothers, who is doing their own Jungle Book reboot or like new project, they're saying cancel it. Just cancel it, Warner Brothers.
Bother.
Yeah, like don't bother. It's not going to be as good as this. And Warner Brothers did, in fact, delay theirs. Like it was going to have a release date, and then they pushed it back like 6 months or something like that.
But how can you do that when you've spent so much money on something? I mean, I don't think they're just because people are calling for it doesn't mean they're going to. I mean, I think that depending on how much money they've put into it,
I don't think they're going to cancel it. I think I think that they pushed it back as a deliberate thing. Yeah. You know, like Star Wars pushed back. Episode 8 was supposed to come out next May, but now it's going to come out next Christmas, just because they're like, yeah, we need more time. We want to take more time, and I'm just like, good. You take your time. You take as much time as you need to. Just give me another Star Wars like the one that I just watched. And sorry for stepping away. I just started getting like really shaky because my room is like a total sauna today, and I don't know why. So I got some water.
Okay. It's all good. Anyway, so that's that. That is, why don't you, since you had already kind of just talk about Star Wars, why don't you get into that?
Well, speaking of Star Wars, Star Wars Rebels looks so good. It just looks so good. Now, this is in spite of the mouth breathers on the internet who have replied to the new trailer with the question, so what, like, is every Star Wars movie gonna have a chick in the lead role from now on? I don't want to get started on those people because it's just a beautiful day. This trailer is so amazing. We have to give the caveat, right, that like this is a prequel, and prequels just have like problems as stories. Like they just sort of always do. And it's really, really difficult to get around that. And like the Star Wars prequels suffered from that a lot because it was like, you knew a lot of stuff that was going to happen. It's very difficult to put Obi-Wan in the prequels. It's very difficult to put him in any sort of danger and have people feel like he's in danger because you know that he's not. You know he's going to be totally fine and he's going to survive to be in the Star Wars original films. Spoiler alert, I guess. But at the same time, I think that the current Star Wars team knows about these pitfalls. Like they're thinking, okay, this is a prequel. Like here's the things that a prequel can suffer from, and let's plan our movie around that. I think that's what they're doing. I hope that's what they're doing, and it seems like it, because what we're seeing in the trailer is a bunch of awesome characters in familiar settings. And one of the things, by the way, I heard people talking about this on a podcast just today, actually, and I hadn't really thought about it before, but they were referring to some of this director's earlier work, which I actually haven't seen. And they talked about how he's amazing at creating a sense of awesome scale. And that's very true. If you look at the trailer again and you look at the shots where the disc is being put back on the Death Star, it's the biggest the Death Star has ever looked, even though it's the same size, the same scale. It's just he has a way of composing shots. And the same thing when the rebels are running across the ground towards the AT-ATs and the camera tilts up. They just look like the biggest AT-ATs that have ever existed in the entire universe.
I've never heard anybody call them AT-ATs. I only call them AT-ATs.
No. Is it that? Then is the other one an ATST? Is that what? See, this is my line in the sand.
But,
I will call it AT-AT.
That's fine. Let me back up and make one actual correction. You said Star Wars Rebels. You're talking about Star Wars Rogue One, correct?
Yes. Oh, God. Sorry. No, I just watched. Last night, I finally got caught up on the TV show Star Wars Rebels. But of course, all of this trailer is referring to Star Wars Rogue One.
Right. Okay, good. It took me a while to get my
2 weeks off,
bearings.
and I don't even know what I'm talking about. Star Wars is Star Trek, phasers and lightsabers in the same place. It's madness.
You've never seen any of the movies that Gareth Edwards has directed? You've never seen Monsters? You didn't see
Nope.
Godzilla?
No, fuck no. No. God.
The trailer was so amazing.
I didn't think so at all. Not even a little bit.
I did. I thought it was incredible. So
I was like,
had to see
everything is super dark. Like, everything is so dark. Why is everything so dark in this trailer? I'm gonna wait to see what people say.
I love the mystery of it. So I was underwhelmed by the film. I'm not going to pretend I really enjoyed the film, but the trailer was incredible. And Monsters is really pretty amazing too.
I've heard, of course. I was a little bit like turned off by the trailer, and then so I was like, I'm gonna see what people say. And then people were like, why is there a Godzilla movie where he's only in like 10 minutes of the film? And I was like, I'm gonna steer clear of this one. Not gonna do that. Anyway, yeah, I even wrote Star Wars Rebels in my segment. That's unbelievable. So I think that what Rogue One is going to be about is it's going to be about the journey. Like, it's not, they're not going to build the whole film. The trailer doesn't even like barely mention the plans that are being stolen. Like, that's this tiny little mention off to the side, because that's not what the film's about. Because if that was the film, if that's what the film was about, it would be terrible, because we already know they're gonna get the plans. Like, we know this from the original movies. So they're not focusing on that. They're focusing on the journey, not the climax. And my body is ready for this journey. It's never been more ready.
Oh, goodness.
I'm excited.
I just threw up in my mouth.
I think I just did something else.
Okay, good. I unfortunately have not seen the trailer yet. I was in Hawaii. I was in Hawaii for Primany's sake. I will watch it. I've heard a lot about it. I'm excited to see it. I will see it. But I can't really speak much more on the topic. So maybe we should move on, or do you want to say more?
I will be very interested to know your reaction. So maybe we can just briefly revisit it next week, because there's a lot of stuff that, as a hardcore nerd, I was like, oh my God, is that? Oh, and I want to know if it still communicates without all of that nerd stuff, if that makes sense. So yeah,
we'll discuss it after I see it. Now, why don't we go ahead and move on to the main topic so we can get
now we got to rein it in. Just want to let any live viewers got to know, and audio listeners as well, we're going to rein it in at this point.
So I'm just gonna dive on in and give we're gonna talk now about sexual harassment, public shaming, and We Make Movies. As you all know, as you should know, rather, We Make Movies is not a singles bar. It is a place where filmmakers can meet other filmmakers for professional reasons and hopefully plan and conspire to make more and better films. If you are coming to We Make Movies to find dates, you are coming for the wrong reasons. I know that romance can and has sprouted out of working relationships, but that's just kind of an occasional consequence, an added bonus. It is not why We Make Movies exists. It is not what we're about. It is absolutely not how you should use our workshops. I know it might seem a little unfair for Garrett and me, who I know agrees with me on this topic, to be stating this fact, since we were both in wonderful long-term relationships before we joined We Make Movies, in which we continue to enjoy. But that doesn't change the nature of our organization. People don't come to our workshops to be hit on, felt up, or in any other way harassed. That should be common sense, but it apparently is not. Our friends and neighbors in the Los Angeles comedy improv community have been experiencing some shakeups and whatnot in this particular sense for, I've been told, a couple of years now. And We Make Movies, as of 2 weeks ago, made some arrangements to try to nip this all in the bud, but apparently was not fast enough. One of our members felt harassed enough by one of our other community members, though not a full member, to post on our We Make Movies members only group page. This is a Facebook group page listing a number of alleged offenses along with the community member's name. And this then started a whole chain of comments filled with support for her and basically hatred and disdain for the alleged offender. The community member has since removed the post and gave her reasons why on the group wall, but it started a very long and detailed chain of comments before it was taken down, and variety of the comments and counter comments, etc., rubbed people on all sides the wrong way. So let's discuss it all. Obviously, harassment is awful. It should be obvious. And unfortunately, some people appear to commit harassment without even realizing it. That is no excuse. But that does leave it up to the rest of us to ensure we inform our less educated friends about what is and is not okay. I wrote actually quite a bit more on the matter, but it was sadly deleted in a mistake. But Garrett's going to be delving into
by his total idiot of a partner, by the way. I was trying. It was this whole stupid thing with Google Docs. I don't even want to get into it right now. But I did a simple, an innocent little action, and it deleted half of his segment.
Regardless, Garrett will be delving deeper into this topic in just a moment. So I'll actually cover just a couple of topics. The first before Garrett and the second after. So the first point is that we've been very lucky to have a couple community members agree to assume the roles of community advocates to help people deal with these types of problems. These advocates are Sharon Spence and John Mikovich. Please, if you're having issues with another community member and you want some kind of help in any way, please go to either of them. They're both very approachable and excellent listeners. And you have two options and one's a man and one's a woman if you prefer either. So please use them. The second point, and also let me actually back up. They are not on the board and they will not be on the board. There will be members of the community only so that we don't, you know what I mean? I want to make sure that they're one of you guys and not one of us if people seem to think that there's an us versus them thing. They are one of you guys. They are one of the community members. They have no vested interest. They don't have to be diplomats the way we have to. We have no choice. As the people who run this, we have to be diplomatic. If you understand how organizations,
well, you're operating from inherently kind of a position of power. Like I know that
exactly.
it's not power tripping. It's just like that's what you guys
are. What it is. Yeah, we have to, and it can be sort of we have to protect the goodwill of everybody. We can't pick sides. We can't. And that's just the nature of running any kind of organization. But anyway, the second point I'm going to get into after Garrett's comments because anyway, you'll see why in a moment. So yeah. Garrett.
So I want to talk just on the subject of situations like this that arise, and this extends to harassment, but it also extends.
Can I interrupt one quick second? I don't think we mentioned this at the top of the show. We would very much welcome your comments on this. If you are on the YouTube channel watching this live right now, you can make comments. I believe we'll be able to see them and address them. If not, you can also go to Twitter and just use the We Make Movies hashtag. I am checking that right now, so we will be able to address your specific comments on this particular topic if you would like to bring it up. Sorry.
And I do need to acknowledge the fact that I have been terrible and I was not paying attention to the YouTube comments, but Charlie Capen's been in there commenting for the last 15 minutes or so.
Oh, goodness.
Had awesome things to say about Star Wars and all that stuff, and I answered his comments on the YouTube page, and any comments on this discussion I will make sure to actually answer on the show and stop being a total douchebag who ignores our comments. So I want to talk about situations like this, harassment, and other circumstances that stem from a similar place that also result in the community and the space feeling unfriendly or unsafe, because obviously that's the last thing that We Make Movies ever should be, and for 99.9% of the time, that's the last thing it ever is. Like, I talk all the time about how wonderful I find this community and how much I enjoy all of the time that I spend with its members and doing the thing and making the movies. I mean, I think it's amazing. But situations like this do come up. And aside from just actual straight up, harassment, there are other things that come up that make people feel uncomfortable, that make them, So this is something that's hard to come up with 100% airtight solution for, because, as Chad mentioned, you can be douchey without even realizing it, and you can totally harass people without realizing it. But there is a big thing that everyone can do to improve this drastically and to keep this sort of thing from blowing up the way that this particular situation did, and that is just to listen more. It's sad that no means no even has to be said, but that statement is very, very true, and it applies everywhere to everything. If someone doesn't want to talk to you, whether you want to talk to them about something personal or professional, leave them alone. I promise you, there are tons of people out there in We Make Movies and in life in general where you can act however you want to act. Like the people who are just on the exact same wavelength, and you can just kind of talk however you want to. This may come as a shock to some people who know me and listeners of the show, but I like to make the penis jokes. I am all about the dick giggles. And I have tons of friends in We Make Movies who also enjoy the cock gags. But I also pay attention to people who I know do not like the shaft chuckles and are uncomfortable around them. And so I keep that sort of thing out of their face. And this is not just about trying to hook up with people or things like that.
Yeah.
Again, this is something that's going to happen in any group, but it's so not the purpose of We Make Movies. Our purpose is, it's in the name, we make movies. And in that space, the group is just better if you are considerate in pretty much all things that you do, if you're thinking of other people and not just thinking about yourself. So as another example of a way that this applies, not on the subject of harassment specifically, but somewhat related, this is something that came up before. Somebody's script was being read, and the script included a scene of graphic sexual violence. And normally that scene would just be read, and that would be, that would be pretty intense already. But this writer / director had gotten together with the actors, and he really wanted the reading to like pop. He really wanted to get the best reading that he possibly could. So he had them rehearse the scene physically. Not, a simulation, obviously, but like, hitting, like actual assault, right? And they got violent with each other on stage in front of the entire audience. And there was no warning that this was going to happen whatsoever. I was very uncomfortable watching that scene. So try to imagine how a woman in the audience who's been a victim of sexual violence would feel watching the same thing. Like, you could trigger actual PTSD in someone, because actually way more people have PTSD because of that than because of things like combat experience, which is what we generally associate PTSD with. So after that occurred, there was a discussion about it, and the general guideline was just sort of passed around the group. If you've got something like that that's going to be happening on stage, especially if it's that far out of the norm of what generally happens on stage, just warn the audience first. Because
to be crystal clear about that, this is not something like we, as a organization, as a managing organization, we do not mandate anything. You know what I mean? With regards to that, this is something that is more, again, sort of a community agreed upon thing. If you know what I mean, you're not going to get kicked out if you forget to give it trigger warnings, etc. It's not something that we are mandating in any way, shape, or form. But other members of the community would really, really appreciate it if you did. I just want to be crystal clear about that.
Exactly. And that's what, like, with the structure of We Make Movies being the way that it is, where like nobody on the board wants to step in and be like, whoa, the thing. That means that we do need to be better about managing it ourselves. And that's why listening and paying attention and being considerate is so very important. Because if that warning had happened, I might have stuck around for the scene, and I would have also been prepared for it. I would not have seen my personal friend on stage getting slapped, and like I saw that, and of course I realized almost immediately, oh my God, that they must have practiced this. But my first gut reaction was, oh my God, this dude just slapped my friend on stage, right? And that's just not a pleasant feeling. That I did not want to have that feeling, and I would have known going in, so that I could have actually I could have gotten the reaction that he wanted actually. So again, just think of other people. And pay attention to how what you're doing is affecting them. And this also does, finally, this is another thing which is going a little bit farther and in a little bit more of a gray area, but this does reach into your art as well. And this is a dicey proposition, because yes, you should be able to create your art the way that you want to and express yourself. There is there's absolutely no argument to be made for the fact that you can't tell the stories that you want to tell. But if you bring it into a group and you receive critique for it, maybe your representation of women is really, really bad, or maybe you've got like actual racial stereotypes in your script. You're probably going to have somebody talk to you about that. You're probably going to receive that critique, and you do yourself no service by arguing back against those critiques. And it boils down to listen. Like in that case, you don't even have to change your script if you don't want to. And hey, the mainstream film industry will probably love your work. But just be aware that.
But also, to be clear, I think there are, for certain reasons, if stereotypes are not something that necessarily need to be 100% avoided. They're you know what I'm saying?
Oh, sometimes you can use them, you can break them, you can do whatever. But again, you're going to
tune them. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It can be satire. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Satire is a very, very valuable form of art. So
anyway, if that's what you're doing and somebody like doesn't get it or whatever, you do yourself and the entire group no service by arguing back at them when you're receiving critique of your script. It just serves absolutely no purpose. And again, you're not listening. The purpose of critique is not to communicate your idea. The purpose is to hear other people's ideas. And honestly, all this stuff stems from the same place, which is thinking of yourself first and not thinking about and being considerate of other people.
Yeah.
People do not owe you unthinking praise for your work. People do not owe you rapt attention when you put disturbing material in front of them without warning. And people do not owe you their time or their bodies just because you think that they do, which again is just so not the purpose of this group by any means. And this stuff does stem from the same place. And as the great Louis C.K. once said, when someone tells you that you have hurt them, you don't get to decide that you didn't.
Yeah. And I think that it's fair to be even more explicit, I believe. I think that I don't think you should be asking people out at We Make Movies. I don't think that's the purpose of it. Just don't think. I think if you want to work with them, ask them if you want to, you know what I'm saying? That's what you should be doing. However, if you're going to just ignore me and do it anyway, if they say no, just don't ask again. You had your shot. They said no, just leave it. If you keep after that, it's really, 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 really becoming harassment, and you need to back off. And the same goes for now. Listen, I am very comfortable I'm Hawaiian, so we hug. You know what I'm saying? If you don't like being hugged and you let me know that, I will not hug you. That's fine. I'm totally okay with that. If, on the other hand, you are a person who really likes to hug people, and you need to, like Garrett was saying, you need to understand that not a lot of people do that, and definitely more sexualized touching, just don't do it. Please don't do it at We Make Movies. So I just wanted to be even more explicit. Now,
Michael Beardsley could stop slapping my ass every time I walk by. I'm kidding, Michael. Never stop.
Never stop. Yes, it's unwanted touching.
Yeah.
Wanted touching is fine.
And sorry, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm trying to lighten it up because, of course,
I get it.
We are having the talk, aren't we?
Absolutely. But I'd like to move it to the other side of the spectrum, which is public shaming. It is not something. The one thing that you need to be careful of when you start to public shame somebody, and if you have been harassed, and someone is continuing to do it, and you have gone as far as getting a restraining order against them, if there is a repeated, public shaming is not something that you should resort to so quickly. You know what I'm saying? If somebody does something to you, and you should really just jump to it. And the reason why I'm saying this is actually for a couple of reasons. You could be exposing yourself to defamation. Yeah. If you name somebody, you really could be accused. You could be served. You could, that's part of it. But on the other hand, it's like if somebody doesn't, give them a shot to fix it. Do you know what I'm saying? There's a variety of other levels. There's a whole bunch of other things that you should try before you jump all the way up to that, because this is another side of it, is that people can be, their reputations destroyed, just completely annihilated over what may have been a misunderstanding, what may have been even a very bad failing on behalf of somebody. But anyway, I don't want to pretend that that we are always and only completely on the side of the accuser, because we're not there. we're not there 100% of the time. And we need to, like I said before, we have to be diplomatic. We have to, even the people that are uninformed and don't know what they're doing and just need to be educated, we need to educate them. Let's start with that. And then if they're not getting it, and then if it's continuing.
And I would like to jump in there and just say that, of course, a very badly damaged reputation is nowhere near as harmful a damage as like real true like assault and injury and all that sort of thing. But if you don't follow the proper, I don't know, hierarchy of actions to be taken, then you are opening it up to situations where maybe somebody can be corrected fairly easily, and that is always the better solution. If you have exhausted your resources and whatever, I'm never going to object to somebody who has exhausted other resources and then just goes, you know what? Nobody seems to want to help with this. And here's the deal with this guy, because I think that people should know.
Part of me wants to give an example, but I'm afraid. Well,
I know, right?
I'll just give it. I'll give the example.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with sexual harassment, but it has to do with something that is slightly illegal. There was a dog that was in a car, starving in this car, and the owners had a freaking apartment, but they left the damn dog in the car and they weren't feeding it enough. There was a Facebook group that was watching this poor dog and going in and feeding the dog, and they alerted the cops. They alerted the animal services, neither of which would do anything for whatever reason. Apparently, I guess the dog, it was sort of during the winter. And so it wasn't really hot, so it wasn't in danger of, it wasn't in any immediate danger, and the property was property owned by these people. So there was nothing the cops could do. There was nothing that the animal services could do. So a friend of mine offered to take care of this dog if the dog were somehow rescued by any means. Well, apparently, the dog appeared at this friend's apartment, and the person who delivered it had like a cut on her hand, and so it apparently it presumably,
well, your friend very clearly did not explicitly tell her to break the window. And
no, not at all. Absolutely,
not even a little bit.
Not even a little bit. But that it's pretty fair to assume that's what happened. So the dog was saved, rescued when all other means had been exhausted. And again, it's not I'm not condoning illegal activity, but I do think that whoever did save that dog did a good thing, because the dog is now alive.
Right.
And that was, but the other, the cops had been alerted and did nothing. Animal services had been alerted and did nothing. So that's my point, is that it is kind of in the words of a friend of mine who was very upset with even though they didn't know the person who had been publicly shamed, extremely upset by the public shaming that went down, says that it's a nuclear weapon. And I agree but sometimes that's what's necessary.
Sometimes you do need the nuke, but if you start a fist fight, you don't press the button. This is a bad analogy that's going nowhere.
No, but anyway, but I just want to be clear. I personally, this is not We Make Movies. This is Chad Kukahiko's opinion. I think you should hold off on that one until you absolutely need it. And now that we have the advocates, you should have multiple steps ahead of that. Right. So if it ever comes down to that, again, I would be shocked. I would be shocked if it comes down to that, because in my opinion, a restraining order is before that. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on the topic, and I think we've exhausted it.
Awesome. All right. Well, had to be said.
Had to be said. One of those weeks.
Good One times. Of those weeks. All right. Well, we will start moving towards the end of the show. So next is community news. And first in community news, we always like to encourage you, whether you watch us live on YouTube or listen on the audio feed, please do pop over to iTunes and rate the show. 4 or 5-star ratings. We love them. We eat them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We don't. I actually eat food, real food. I don't do breakfast. But anyway, but 4 and 5-star ratings are fantastic, and we love reviews on the show as well. This Wednesday is going to be Improv Night, also known as Ideation Night at the Sacred Fools main stage. Is there a reason we're calling it Ideation
Yes,
Night?
because the idea is that it's part of the whole process. It is kind of the first step in the process. If you don't have a script, but you have the idea for a script.
Got it.
So you can use it basically however you want. There are a variety of ways that people are already using it, but if you have another way that we are not, and that's what it's going to help you do, just go to Chris, email Chris, and talk to him about your idea, and he will 99% chance he will make it happen.
Okay, so the smirk you might have heard in my voice, I actually just looked up ideation. I had a wrong definition. I thought it was like affirmations, and I was like, oh, why are we calling it that? But it's not. It's coming up with and developing ideas and concepts. That's why it's Ideation Night. That makes a lot more sense to me now.
Good, excellent.
And maybe to some listeners who were also wrong. And finally, We Make Movies is the only filmmaking community in the world, so far as we know, that is entirely supported by its community, and that happens at patreon.com. Patreon is a crowdfunding site like Kickstarter or Indiegogo, except it's a voluntary monthly subscription instead of a one-time fundraising push. So go check it out at patreon.com/WeMakeMovies or WeMakeMovies.org/Patreon. They both work, and you can check out all of the awesome perks that you can get for being a member or supporter, and that's how we do what we do, including making movies themselves. We have a rolling production fund that takes some of the money that goes into the Patreon each month, what's not needed to run the group and everything like that. And that is being used to make movies kind of as we speak. I don't think we've done an update on the Rolling Production Fund in a while, and specifically the short film contest.
Oh no, we have. It was won by I can't remember the name of the actual.
I remember now because the votes.
Subtext.
Oh,
I wish called Subtext. Yes, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. If you don't know what we're talking about, it's that Garrett is responsible for me not winning. And
such bullshit.
I'm just kidding. It's bullshit. I'm just kidding. Chris Valenti won, and it was well deserved. It's a
great script.
Yes. And it should be. I've been out of town, obviously, so I don't know anything else other than that. But I assume they're moving forward, and the production will be happening very soon. More updates as they come. Yes. And finally, as always, we end with... Before we move on to things to know, let me also remind people that if you do not want to deal with Patreon, if you're happier with PayPal instead, but you would like to be a member or regular, go check out the Patreon thing just so you can see the perks, because the perks will still relate to you whether you use Patreon or not. And then go to wemakemovies.org/donate, and you can sign up right there too. There's a variety of different options, and one of them is to become a regular or a member, and then you can use sort of a PayPal. The main difference, it's a PayPal subscription, and that's the thing that they use. Difference between PayPal and Patreon is that if you're already using PayPal, you don't have to create a whole new account, but it also will charge you immediately, and 1 month from the day that you originally sign up, it will keep doing that, whereas Patreon is always on sort of the first of each month. So anyway, moving on. Just a thing to know. Things to know, Chad. So I finally got around to seeing Ex Machina during my trip, and it was so good. I mean, it's so messed up. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. I don't. I've heard nobody say it's messed up. It's messed up. It is very messed up, but incredible. It is really, really good, and it really makes you you think a lot afterwards. There's no surprise that it's about AI. It's about artificial intelligence. What? You're joking. Okay. But it is, and it really makes you wonder about it, and you'll be thinking about it for days, unless you're not paying attention. Harley's freaking out in the comments. He goes, Ex Machina, yes. So good. so good. Also, the second season of Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt is on Netflix. I've already watched the whole thing. It is great. It is so good. Amy, I love that show. I have friends who aren't crazy about the first season. It's a little too wacky for them. So if you're like that, this is just as wacky. Amy Sedaris has a slightly bigger role in this one, and she is so freaking funny. A couple of moments she made me laugh. One, she made me laugh so hard I was in physical pain. I could not stop laughing for a long time. Watch it. It's so good. Again, only if you like the first season. And if you haven't seen the first season, start with the first season, and then you'll know whether or not you like this particular type of comedy. Anyway, those are my things.
Always good advice. My thing to know is a weird thing, and I'm not sure how applicable it's going to be forever, but I joined Anchor recently, which is a social media website. Do you know about Anchor, Chad?
I do not.
It's a social media website, and it's all audio. All audio. You record audio posts. You comment on people's audio posts with audio posts. It's all audio.
Huh.
It's sounds weird, and it is weird, but I like it.
But in the day, in the day of podcasts, it's not so weird.
I know. Yeah.
Especially when you're traveling, at least.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, I don't know if you can respond while traveling per se, but I don't know. I gotta check this out.
Sure you can. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Oh, well, I'll check it out. It's that sounds interesting. It is an app? Is it?
It's an app. Yep, it's an app. It's actually an app that you can't do it from your computer. It's phone only because you need to you record on your phone.
Wow.
Check it out. It's kind of cool.
Will.
I kind of like it. It's interesting and worth checking out.
Word.
And with that, we have truly reached the end of the We Make Movies Film Geeks podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in with us on this Sunday afternoon. I have been Garrett Robinson, and will continue to be after the show is done. You can find me at garrettbrobinson.com. Chad can be found online at superfreako.com, and you can find We Make Movies at wemakemovies.org. We'll see you next week, everybody. Goodbye.